This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today is Jason Brewer, the CEO of Marula Mining, and Tokas van Heerden, Director of SMP, who are a technical partner with Marula. So following news from the Kinusi copper project this morning, Jason, lots of points from the RNS, but the key ones being successful site visits have been conducted there and mineral processing consultants have finalised plans for the installation of the processing plant and the facilities at the Kinusi site. So just give us your summary, first of all, to start us off.
Sure. Look, it's been a very busy few months up at Kinusi in Tanzania there at the copper project. Both Tokas here visited just a week ago. I visited just after that. We had offtake parties on site. So we're really moving forward with the project, both in terms of that processing plant design and installation, and obviously where the product is going to go and how we're going to sell it. So a lot of activity, very excited to be there. I think it was Tokas' first visit on site. So sometimes all these pictures just don't give it justice. And I think that was clear, not just for Tokas, but also for the offtake groups as well. So a very busy, but very constructive few months for us. And, you know, we're going to carry that momentum on throughout this quarter and into the second half of the year.
Excellent. Well, it's your first time visiting site, Tokas. Give me your first impressions. What did you think of the whole thing now that you've been there and seen it for real?
Yeah, look, it's a very, very interesting and I'm very excited about the project. Obviously, the visuals are there. I mean, people always look at the visual stuff that you can see, but what I was quite impressed with is the broader part of the ore body that, you know, the locals don't look at as a copper containing ore, but you can clearly see that it also has to be mined. So I looked at the bigger picture and how we will implement a process immediately and what we will do to sort of enhance the project in some way quick. It was quite interesting to look at the infrastructure, the available infrastructure, the labor, you know, the supply chain, all of that's very critical. And that was the main reason that we do not plan something that is not fitting the purpose of the initial project. So we are now we've done a proper assessment of the logistics, how to get everything there. We've looked at changing. The initial thought was a specific area where we would have put up the initial pilot plant. We've changed that to come closer. There is a power line running with available power, which the community is making available. There's water close to this specific site. So we're looking at hauling the high-grade ores to this site and process it there. But we're also looking at putting a plant there that would be able to not just prepare the grade materials, and that grade's coming from there is 25 to 30% copper as is. It's amazing. I mean, I've never come across anything like it. But then also to take the lower grade materials there and to start processing that whilst the geological development takes place. In the area, there's a lot of other mining activity. There's a lot of people digging with licenses legally. So we're looking now at all the legislative conditions that government does have there with all of that. So I made an assessment of the labor force. You know, there is hardly any work for people in that region. And then also the availability of service providers in that region. So Jason and myself are sitting today. We are having our meeting and discussing the way forward. But it could happen much quicker than I anticipated initially. Initially, I thought, you know, you see pictures and you see a forest, you're always scared that you've got to go into the Himalayas somewhere to go do something. But this looks much better, and we are very, very excited. There are some very interesting pointers that's come out of the site visit.
Okay, well, thank you for that. So you want to get processing almost immediately, really. You've done your initial assessment and pre-prep work, and you're looking to process, obviously, both the higher grade, which is significantly high, 25 to 30% copper, but also the lower grade as well. And you think it's going to happen fairly quickly. Jason, can I ask you, what's the reality of this happening quickly? There's, of course, logistics to consider. You've got to order equipment, and also you've got to pay for it. So how realistic is this going to be happening, and in what time frame?
Yeah, look, we've come out and we said we're going to get started and looking at processing in the second half of this year. I think we'd like to over-deliver in this instance and surprise a few people with it. So the sort of plant which we're looking at, we're already in discussions with the final, not just the designs, but the actual construction installation. So those discussions are ongoing, active, and pushing ahead very quickly. The capital of this is not significant, so very much covered by what we have, and certainly supported by our major shareholders, being QGC and the support that they're giving us. So from an ability to deliver on this, I'm very confident, not just in what we can do as Marula, but the various partners that we work with up there to get it done. You remember, these are already granted mining licenses. So it's not as if we have to go through a major regulatory process of submitting or of converting an exploration or prospecting license to a mining license. That's already in place. And we have very good partners in Takela mining in Tanzania, as you know, who manage a lot of those local government bodies and community relations. So we've had some very positive discussions with them. So actually delivering on this, I'm pretty confident. I think people will see what we've done with Blesberg, what we're achieving there, and there's a lot of activity going on there this very week. But with Kinusi, to move it forward, logistically, yes, it's in Tanzania, but a very established mining jurisdiction. Road, as Tokas mentioned, water, power. It's all there. It's now about having the right team to get that in place and deliver. And I think with SMP and with Tokas here, we're certainly capable of doing that.
Okay, excellent. Well, you did say in the RNS that the final design work and cost assessments are ongoing now, and you've also got additional mining equipment being sourced in South Africa for delivery to the Kinusi site. So you're hoping to provide more of an update on that as those plans are finalised, and you can actually communicate that to the market when there might be some processing operations going on site.
Absolutely. Look, that's why I'm here with Tokas today. We've spent all day here in Kimberley in South Africa. I came from Joburg earlier this morning. We've literally sat down. We've gone through a number of things, and we're working with the partners that have already been identified on the plant work, on the mining equipment, and so on. So, it's the great benefit of South Africa, I guess. It's got such an established mining industry, such great mine service providers, mine equipment providers. So sourcing this equipment, sourcing the necessary skill sets to go up there and deliver this project, we're working with very capable people, and certainly Tokas here, who I've known for quite some time, a very good track record in being able to operate projects.
Okay.
Mark, he was operating projects up there in Zim, where obviously you were most recently with Premier. So he's got a great track record of operating in these jurisdictions, in copper in particular, and getting them into production. So I'm very confident of the coming months, that's for sure.
Indeed. Well, thank you, Jason. And of course, yes, I was in Zim at Premier Africa Minerals looking at their processing plant. So I have a good understanding how these plants work. But I wonder, if in brief, Tokas, if you can at all, just explain how this particular plant for Kinusi may work in terms of how ore is going to be fed in, sorted, etc. I know it's hard to do in a minute or two, but are you able to summarise just how it will work? Because I think investors would be quite interested to get a bit of a picture into the workings of it.
So initially, we're looking at a artisanal mining process whilst we complete the geologicals, which we will do assisted mining. We'll give them some capacity to bring out the high grade ores, but we'll also compile all the lower grade ores, haul it down, and we'll put it into a normal jaw crusher and crush it down to a -10 millimeter. which is the high grade will be sold off as that, as just as a -10 concentrate, which it isn't. It's actually an ore, but in other places in the world it's seen as a concentrate. And then the balance of that materials which are not visible, which are not high grade enough, we'll put that through a milling process, and then we'll concentrate it. For the time being, we're looking at a 5 ton an hour plant, which is significant. It's good enough to do what it's supposed to do. And then we will concentrate it through either with some James tables but I think the process will be James table. We're finishing the last bit of our planning on that. I promised Jason that we'll have final draft plans for the plant in the next week. Okay. And then the only issue in South Africa at the moment is, we weren't used to lead times. We used to have things off the shelf, as you know, but we won't go into that. But there are some small lead times in certain parts and elements at the moment of pieces of kit. We're experiencing the same issue down at Blesberg. Some of the higher end equipment, it takes much longer, but in this instance, I think we will advance much, much quicker. Some of this equipment we already have sourced. It's now just the execution of it. And then what we'll do is we'll send it by road. So we'll probably take, some guy 2 weeks to drive up there with the whole plant. It's not going to have this massive footprint. It's not going to have any problem with the environmentals, because we're not going to use anything but gravity and normal processes for now, and then that's the short part. I mean, more critical actually for me is we need to establish a proper site, a proper camp in there, and we've cleared it out. I was quite surprised by the willingness of the locals to they convene a meeting within 3 days, and all the elders are there, and they say, look, this is what we want to do. So the people there are really hungry to get something going. It was interesting to see how around that town there's probably 20, 40, diggings going on with people with small licenses, and that is the interesting part for me. So it does tell you that there's a lot of minerals in that region, and I must congratulate them with finding the source. It's okay. In my view, it's very, very interesting.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that. So you're effectively taking the ore there, sorting it into high grade and low grade concentrate, and then that's it. That's your job done. That goes off to your buyer. Initially,
it's not what we want to end up. We've made a promise with each other that we want to produce. Eventually we want to process everything to final product. Eventually.
Okay.
But for now, that's how we're going to do it.
Okay. Jason, did you want to come in there on something?
No, look, Mark, you just made it sound so easy. Producing a high-grade, low-grade concentrate, it's a little bit more complicated, as you know. But
yeah, absolutely.
When you've got a project like this where to produce a high-grade con, it's a very straightforward process. The low-grade material, which they're not touching, is like less than 10% copper, which anywhere else in the world will be considered a world-class product, world-class mine. So we've clearly got to get the work done, as Tok has mentioned, on the geological. So there's an ongoing exploration program in parallel with this kind of initial mining and processing activities. So we've got, as the RNS mentioned today, we've got geofields on site going across all 10 of our licenses. And it's important to note everything we've put out, both in the media, social media, etc., with the photographs and the images, is just on one of those 10 licenses. So we're really, we've barely got to the guts of this project, and we're expecting a lot of positive results out of this ongoing exploration as we move into some drilling, trenching, some more exposures on the hill, and so on. So a lot happening in parallel with the mining and the processing, but that will really demonstrate, I think, very quickly over the next 3, 4, 5 months what we've actually got and how we can actually start delivering out of this mine.
Okay, excellent. Well, just a final question, Jason, just on actually selling the product. You sent samples, haven't you, is that to get a grade then that you can show to potential well, you said in the RNS, shortlisted of global trading commodity groups who might want to offtake some of the product here. So what's the situation with finding out the grade, first of all, and those samples, but also discussions with potential off-takers?
Yeah, look, we've shortlisted 4, and I think that may have just recently increased to 5 offtake parties. Material has been delivered both to SGS and another group out of Dar es Salaam at the request of 2 of those offtake groups. So that material is being tested, being assayed. So you're getting grade, you're getting full met results, you're getting a full analysis of all the metals in there. So it's not just the copper, it's the gold, it's the silver, nickel, PGMs as well. Because clearly, as we've been going through, call it this initial phase of the project, there's been a number of observations of precious metals contained within, visible precious metals contained within those samples. So we need to quantify that. We need to better understand it. So those samples are with SGS, are with the other group there in Dar. So we're expecting those results as quickly as we can.
Okay.
And those results will really allow those offtake groups to finalize the terms of the pricing, I guess, terms of that offtake. And that's going to happen relatively quickly. We've got an indication through the process plant design work what sort of volumes we're likely to be able to deliver. And we'll look to do what we did at Blesberg, where we're not going to lock in long term. We'll look at an initial kind of offtake arrangement to basically demonstrate that we can not just mine, process, and export a saleable product, but give those kind of trading groups an idea of the sort of product that we're selling. Okay. And that'll then, as we expand this operation beyond this initial phase, really allow us to optimize where we're going to sell this to and to who.
Okay, well, thank you very much. It certainly sounds like things are progressing rapidly at Kinusi, which is really come to be expected from Marula and Jason, really, considering all our discussions. So I look forward to continuing to follow updates here, but thank you very much for now. Jason Brewer, the CEO of Marula Mining, and Takela van Heerden, the Director of SMP. Thank you both very much for your time.
Thanks, Mark. Cheers.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.